now we are trying to discuss some control methods which are like little bit advanced compared to our earlier methods what we have seen. So slowly getting into the vector control of machine. So we tried to model a generic machine. How do we see the machine and how it can be modeled electrically at least. So we have seen that how three-phase or multi-phase quantity can be shown as a vector, so which may have two orthogonal components. One can be called as real, another can be called as imaginary component, and that is how we are defining the quantity as vector. Then we went for understanding in a general scenario when we have, let's say, kind of slip ring induction motor or something like that, where we have possibility of giving voltage from both the sides. So then how do we write the equations for these rotor and this stator and rotor sides? So firstly, we have drawn the per phase equivalent circuit, and what we have seen that it consists of some components which actually define the property of the motor. So it could be resistance, then could be some leakage inductance, then it could be the magnetizing inductance and so on. And then we try to write the simple KVL equations for the two sides. Now only thing we need to be careful when we are dealing with the rotating machines. So here, because we have parts which are moving, so whatever we see from stationary frame of reference, it may not be same in the other moving reference. So this is the only thing we need to keep in mind. When we talk about something like transformer, every quantity or every part is stationary. So whatever we are seeing from one reference frame, I mean, it is common reference frame for everyone, so there is no change. But whenever we have moving part, so let us say if it is a playground where everyone is there with respect to earth, so we can define each other's position with respect to our position because everyone is standing on stationary platform. But let us say if we talk about someone traveling on train, so then it would be difficult to say unless we know what is the speed of the train. So let us say we are standing outside the train, we cannot tell the position of the other person exactly unless we know the speed of the train. So it is similar to that. The quantities which we are defining are dependent on the reference frame. So that is why we need to be careful when we are writing equations. So what we have tried to do, we have tried to write the equations of the stator and rotor side in their native reference frame. So of course, when there is magnetizing current coming over there, we have the rotor current coming into the stator equation and we have the stator equation coming into the rotor equation. So there is some kind of mutual component coming over there, and that is what LM stands for. It is the mutual effect. That is what we are dealing with. So then we need to know that what actually this quantity is. Let's say the rotor current when we are referring it in the stator reference frame. And what is the stator current when we are referring that in the rotor reference frame. This understanding is very, very important. Am I clear up to this point? Any confusion? Any confusion up to this point?
No, sir.
No.
So we have defined the equations in their respective native frames. Native frames means, for suppose if you are at home, you are defining your name and all these things according to wherever you stay, right? But once you come out of your house, you go to some other city or some other state, your identity you have to tell in a different manner so that other people who are not related to you can also understand. It is as simple as that. Is that clear? So your reference frame has changed. You very well know that what is rotor current in rotor reference frame. I can say, okay, this is IR. But when I change the reference frame, I have to define IR in terms of this reference frame now, the stator reference frame. So that we will see now how we are doing. Any confusion, please ask immediately, because these are little bit involved things. If you miss a point, it may be difficult later on. Now what we are having, we have given two reference frames. One which is associated with the stator, stationary with respect to the stator, that is alpha s, beta s. And another which is kind of stationary with the rotor. So I may call it alpha r and beta r, like we saw yesterday. Now if our current is there, let us say our stator current, Is, this vector is there, and this we say Is, that means it is in its native reference frame, alpha s, beta s. There is no superscript added over here. So whenever there is no superscript, that means it is the native reference frame. If I say IR without any superscript, it is in the rotor reference frame. If I say IS without any superscript, it is in the stator reference frame. This is clear, right? When I am writing superscript, it is referred to any other reference frame which is not that quantity's native reference frame. That's all. Okay. So when we are clear up to this point, then let us try to see what do I mean by referring to a quantity in other reference frame. What is meaning of that? Let's say this new reference frame which I have drawn over here, that is called alpha r, beta r, is making some angle epsilon with the original reference frame alpha s, beta s. That is fine, right? Because this reference frame is moving along with the rotor. So my d omega by dt, sorry, d epsilon by dt, rate of change of angle, is my rotational speed. This is clear, right? Now, what do I mean by referring this quantity to another reference frame is that there is some component of this vector along the stationary alpha s, beta s that we want to correlate with the projections on the alpha r and beta r. Any reference frame you can take, right, for this vector, and you can have components, orthogonal components. So for alpha s, if let us say this is Is alpha s and Is beta s, then my other component would be, okay, let me not write the superscript when it is native. So the other can be written as Is alpha r and Is beta r, which is this component. And this is my Is alpha and this is my Is beta. Clear, right? We want to have a correlation between these two quantities, pair of quantities. That is all the meaning of referring to a quantity in a different reference frame. Now, we must understand vector is same whether we define in stationary alpha beta reference frame, so we may call it like this, or we define it in rotating alpha beta reference frame. This vector is same, Is, but how we are referring, that is only changing. So for discrimination, I will put something like this R. So when I put a superscript, which means that Is is referred from the rotor reference frame. Now the components will be Is alpha R and Is beta R. So this difference you understand, because notations are very important. One notation if you miss, then whole equation will go for a toss. You will not understand what happened suddenly. So now let us try to write. So if I have to write my Is alpha R in terms of Is alpha and Is beta, so how I will write? Can someone suggest? If I have to write my Is alpha R in terms of Is alpha and Is beta, so how I will write in terms of angle? So this is nothing but the projection of this component on this axis. So this projection plus this projection, this orthogonal projection, what is coming. So which means whatever angle this is making with this particular axis, when we are defining this IS alpha R, that defines what will be the value. So this projection is because of IS alpha, and this projection is small up to this point. Let me put in black. This small projection is because of IS beta. So I will write, so basic simple triangle, you have this thing, this angle epsilon over here, and it's a right angle triangle. So how we write the base? So it will be IS alpha cos epsilon. That is the component up to this point. That is the projection of this IS alpha on this axis. And then plus IS beta sin epsilon. Clear, right? Any confusion in this? You are simply putting the projections of this IS alpha and IS beta on this axis, I alpha R. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, similarly, you can write IS beta R. Again, the projection of IS alpha, IS beta on this axis, on the beta R axis. So what this will become now, and see that alpha is having a projection on the negative side. So we will put a minus sign over here, IS alpha, and this angle is 90 minus epsilon. So this becomes sin epsilon, plus this is also epsilon. Same angle is projected over here also. So IS beta cos epsilon. Fine. So we have correlated our IS alpha, IS beta with IS alpha R, IS beta R. Now let us try to write this in more compact form. So how you can write in a compact form? You can first write in terms of matrix. Let us say this vector IS alpha R, IS beta R, this is nothing but a multiplication of this 2 by 2 matrix with this vector. This is how we can write in a more compact form. This is same thing, two equations. Fine. Now, further we can make it compact if you write it in terms of vector. So what it means basically, that if you are defining your IS vector in rotor reference frame, simply you can multiply your actual vector with component like this, e raised to power minus j epsilon. This you can take as thumb rule. What is the thumb rule? If epsilon or any other is the angle between your native and new reference frame in the counterclockwise direction, then we can write the vector in new reference frame as this. You expand this e raised to power minus j epsilon as cos epsilon minus j sin epsilon, and this will come back to this whatever we have originally done, the two components. Understanding my point? So whether you understand from the vector point of view, or you understand from the projection point of view, or you understand from the matrix point of view, these all three are saying the same thing. We are defining our vector in a different reference frame. So that is what we do. Is that clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now we have written our vector in the rotor reference frame in terms of the actual vector and the angle which is between the native and new reference frame in the counterclockwise direction. So counterclockwise direction, this. Now the reverse is also true. If you know the ISR and you want to define IS in terms of this, then you can simply switch e raised to power j epsilon on the other side. So then this can be written as ISR e raised to the power j epsilon. Meaning is same. Now you know the vector in the other reference frame, in the alpha r beta r reference frame, and now this angle will be opposite. It will come in the clockwise direction. So that will come as minus epsilon. So that's why it becomes e raised to the power j epsilon over here. I'm just trying to correlate. Fine. Otherwise, mathematically, you can simply say, okay, you take e raised to power j epsilon there, that is fine. Okay, that way is also fine. But how do you understand in terms of vector? That kind of analogy also I'm trying to give. Fine. Okay, so this point will be more clear when we talk about the rotor vector, rotor current vector. So again, we have the alpha s, beta s, we have the alpha r and beta r, and we have the IR vector. So in which reference frame the IR is defined?
Rotor frame, sir.
Yes, rotor reference frame. Now if I want to write IR in the stator reference frame, what I will do? Into what?
We'll take the projection.
Yeah, that is one thing, but now we have understood finally this, no? Compact equation. You can tell directly in terms of this. What should I multiply here on the right hand side?
e to the power plus j epsilon.
Yes, e raised to the power j epsilon. Why? Now epsilon is coming opposite. Your native is here and your new reference frame is here. So angle is minus epsilon in the counterclockwise direction. Understanding my point? This is what I was trying to say over here. Now you know the quantity in the rotating reference frame, alpha r, beta r, and you want to come back to this alpha s, beta s. So what you do? You multiply by this e raised to the power j epsilon. Why? Your angle is minus epsilon in the counterclockwise direction. Understanding my point? The rotation is happening in this manner. So angle is positive in this direction. Angle is negative in this direction. So either you take epsilon like this or you take something like this. Understanding my point?
Yes, sir.
Now you understood the analogy of why I was saying this thing? The two equations why I have put over here. You are jumping, it's okay. One way to see is okay, it is simple mathematics. We are putting this term e raised to power minus j epsilon either on this side or on that side. Physically, what is happening? We know this right hand side quantity is, and we want to express the left hand side quantity in terms of this. Same here, we know the right hand side quantity here. We want to express the left hand side quantity in terms of this, which is a different reference frame. Understood my point? Did you understand my point, what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Clear for everyone?
Yes, sir.
So, if now I know my stator current and I am referring it to rotor reference frame, I will simply put this like this. And if I know my rotor current, and I have to express it in the stator reference frame, I will do simply like this. Understanding my point?
Yes, sir.
Think about this. Again, go back and listen to the lecture and think again yourself, whether you are able to match with this or not on your own. Not by listening that you know the answer, somehow you come to this thing, whatever I have proved. No, not like that. You sit yourself and do, whether you are getting the point or not. Now, let me come back to the equation, what we were discussing yesterday. The equation for the stator and rotor currents and voltages. This. So obviously I can club these equations. Now these are written in alpha and beta. So I can club these in form of vector Vs or Vr or Is or Ir. These vectors I can club. That is fine, no, or any confusion in that. Let's say you have equation 1 and you add this j times of equation 2. This is all I am doing. Or you have equation 3 plus j times of equation 4. This is all I am doing. Understanding my point? Clear?
Yes.
So when you do this operation, what comes out that you can express your stator and rotor equations in a very compact manner. This is the first equation. This is stator equation and this is your rotor equation. And we know that stator equation is in stator reference frame. Rotor equation is in rotor reference frame. So always we write in the native reference frame. Any confusion in this? Any confusion here?
No, sir.
Good. Now we can define these quantities which are kind of not known. We are referring to another reference frame. We do not know what this is. So from the previous equations, we can write these quantities. So what this will become? IR e raised to the power j epsilon. And similarly, when you have VR, Is e raised to the power minus j epsilon. That's all. Isn't it? Epsilon is known, IR is known, Is is known, epsilon is known. So your quantities in these equations are now very well known, very well defined. So this is your stator and rotor voltage equations or electrical equations, which is defining the characteristics of your machine, at least the electrical characteristics of the machine. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is the foundation for when we go and do analysis for any machine. Now what will happen? These terms will take specific forms according to which machine we are dealing with. For example, when we say squirrel cage induction motor, we obviously know that our VR is 0, rotor is shorted. When we say doubly fed induction motor or wound rotor induction motor, we know that it is not 0, this is something else. VR is non-zero. Then we have permanent magnet synchronous machine. Okay, then we think that the rotor equation should not play any role in that because it is all magnet over there. So actually this equation will not do anything, but we need to define IR and other things in terms of magnets what we are putting over there. So this is the foundation of how you do the analysis of the machine or the modeling of the machine. Any motor you take. Synchronous motor, again, you can have the definitions or equations defined like this. But one thing you have to keep in mind that these equations are valid only for symmetrical machines. By symmetrical, what I mean is cylindrical rotor. When you go for machines with saliency, then you have to modify these equations. Understanding my point?
Yes, sir.
So here,
Yes, sir.
when we say
Yes, sir.
symmetrical, then our inductance is not dependent on theta or position of the rotor. This L is not function of theta. This is not there. So for all cylindrical rotor machines, these equations are perfectly fine. So now with this background, let us go and understand how we can model our permanent magnet synchronous motor and we can do the control. Okay, so what we are having actually now for the synchronous motor, the property that it is having that it has magnets on the rotor and that is also cylindrical form. It's uniform. The small variation in inductance we do not consider. So we take symmetrical machine over here. Now it may have magnets, no, some, let's say 6 poles are there symmetrically located, north south north south north south. Now this, what this is doing, these magnets are doing when you have this, these are basically generating some constant flux because of magnet, and we are ignoring saturation. So which means this constant flux is linking the rotor and the stator. Is that clear? Now this constant flux generated by the magnets, we are trying to model in form of a quantity which we can understand and we can control. Is that clear? So if I ask you a question, what is the way to have a constant flux in any coil? What is the way? How do you get a constant flux in this coil? So simple answer could be you have a constant current.
Constant current.
Isn't it? Your flux is nothing but Li. L we have considered linear and constant. So I, when you keep fixed, you have a fixed flux value, which means some kind of DC current. Let's say I, which is not varying with time. It's not a sinusoidal quantity. So this, a magnet can be represented like a current source in a fictitious coil. Understanding my point? This could be our magnet. So it will have north-south poles, and according to the direction of the current or direction of field lines, we can say yes, this is modeled like this. The magnet is modeled like this, isn't it? Isn't it? Any confusion in this one?
No, sir.
In effect, these both things, whether you have a magnet or you have a coil with constant current, these both will have the same flux given out. That is the basis how we model this. Now we have this multi-phase, let us say 3-phase PMSM. So what we will try to do, we will try to model all this magnets into a three-phase coil system or three-phase winding system. So what we will have basically, we take some fictitious windings, three-phase fictitious windings on the rotor. So let us say one could be this, and these are all distributed, not lumped windings, and something like this, isn't it? Now we have to have a current source in this. So how that current source should be? The current value should be constant, whatever we take. And this is balanced. So which means whatever IR plus IY plus IB, this must add up to 0. So simple way what we can do, we can put three current sources like this. Please note the direction. And we can call it IF by 2, IF by 2 and IF. So instantaneous sum of the currents is 0. Why? Because the directions are different. Two are coming in towards the coil, one is going out. So actually this is minus IF by 2, minus IF by 2, and this is plus IF. And this, if you connect, so this represents your permanent magnet rotor. So this will establish a constant flux on your machine or in your machine. Any confusion in this? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, we have to write the rotor current vector. So what is rotor current vector? We have seen any vector. Now again, I am not writing any superscript, which means it is in the native reference frame. What is the native reference frame for rotor current? It is the rotor reference frame. So which is rotating with omega r or whatever speed rotor is rotating. So must understand this difference. Quantity or this vector IR, this can be given as this. These are the angles of the distributed winding, 2 pi by 3 and 4 pi by 3. Clear? Similar to how we did yesterday. Three phase quantities we have simply added with their respective positions. Clear, right? Any confusion in this? Now, if you expand and add, what will happen? That this IR will turn out to be 3 by 2 times of IF. The other imaginary terms will cancel out, which means by this orientation what we have ensured that our current vector is along this alpha r axis. It is fixed along the alpha r axis and then that is rotating. The rotor is rotating. You understand this meaning of this? There is no component along the beta r. Beta r component is 0. Only I alpha r, and this is the value of that component. For convenience we do, because we have freedom. You can actually put IF somewhere else and here minus IF by 2. So it will be rotated by some angle. But only thing, you will be increasing your complexity, adding another imaginary term over there. Clear, right? So
Yes.
our rotor current is very simply defined like this. Now, what is IF? How do we get the value? I'll come to that. Don't worry. So as of now, this point is done. We have defined our rotor current in terms of a fictitious current in the coil, which is located on the rotor. Distributed three-phase winding. Now, I can replace the IR term with this quantity in the equations what we have written. So let me bring it back for our reference. We have written the equations. IR in stator. And we take the compact form. Clear? Now what we have to do, we have to replace this IR in terms of this what we have defined. So now what will happen when you replace this, at least the first equation, clear? Any confusion in this? Any confusion in this? This is clear, right? Now, as I said earlier, because it is a permanent magnet synchronous motor, actually we do not have any voltage or current running on the rotor side. So this equation does not play any role. This has no role to play in the electrical equation of the machine. We do not have actually any winding. We do not have actually any current flowing. We do not have any voltage over there. So this equation has no role to play, which means what? Which means the stator equation alone is enough to define the electrical properties of the machine, permanent magnet synchronous machine. So this is all the modeling of the permanent magnet synchronous motor in stationary or the stator reference frame. This is all. You have done this. You may expand this term. So what will come out? Isn't it? So d epsilon by dt is your omega. This is what we have seen. The speed at which rotor is rotating. And this is not your electric, this is mechanical radian per second. This is your electrical radian per second. Understand that. So far we have not gone into what is the mechanical thing. We are all dealing with the electrical quantities. All the angle, all the rotational speeds, everything is electrical. Fine. Now you can write the alpha beta components of this equation and you will have two sets of equations. So here if you expand this term e raised to power j epsilon as cos epsilon plus j sin epsilon, so this will come as something like minus omega lm Is that correct? Can you verify quickly? Can you verify quickly?
So the board is lagging too much, sir.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
My side.
Yes, sir.
For everyone,
Yes,
is it lagging?
Yes,
What
sir.
you are
Yes,
seeing?
sir.
Okay, what you are seeing as of now?
So d epsilon by
We
dt
have
is
three.
equals to
Yes,
omega.
sir.
Okay, let it come. You can expand the equations or you know, by the time screen is taking time, you may expand that on your own and then tell me whether what is written over here is correct or not. Is it appearing on your screen now?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Let it come, let it come. Is it appearing now?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay, what is visible? Akib?
So now it appears.
d epsilon by dt is equal to omega.
For
Is the
whom?
last.
What you are able to see on the screen?
On screen, we are able to see equation of volt Vs, which is equal to Is Rs plus Ls d by dt Is plus j omega Lm 3 by 2 If into e power j omega. And d epsilon by dt is equal to omega. That's only. Yes.
That's all, huh?
Yes, sir.
For everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me share it again. I don't know why this issue is coming today. These are unnecessary wastage of time. Is it visible now?
No, sir.
Let it come. Let it come. Let me know if it is there.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah. So I have only expanded the equation, what I wrote earlier. Just verify if this is correct or not quickly. Hmm? So visible? Vijita, not visible, huh?
No, sir. So now it is visible.
Okay, okay. Okay, verify the equation quickly. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this term, what is there, Lm into 3 by 2 times of IF, this is basically your constant term which is machine dependent. IF you have defined as a fictitious current in the rotor winding, and Lm is something magnetizing current. So similar to how we have back EMF constant for DC motor, we can have some constant for the PMSM, which is responsible for the EMF generated due to rotation. Now this omega term is coming, which is similar to our DC motor. Okay, so KB into omega we do for EB. So here also we can take that constant as KE. This is some EMF constant. And then we can write simply our equations in terms of this. Now you see that sine epsilon and cos epsilon is also coming in the back EMF term. So, which indicates that our back EMF is sinusoidal. It is not DC similar to our DC motors. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, what we understand that this is the model of our PMSM in the stationary reference frame. So if I ask you to draw the equivalent circuit of this And don't confuse with this minus plus sign. This is only polarity. Polarity in the sense phase of this, the EMF coming over there. So when you draw the equivalent circuit along the alpha and beta axis, it will be like this. So here your back EMF is this Ke omega sine epsilon. So you may put a minus sign over there, and then here your back EMF will be Ke omega cos epsilon. And then your Vs alpha, Vs beta as input, Is alpha, Is beta are the currents, and these are the electrical components Rs and Ls. Clear? So we have modeled our PMSM in stationary reference frame. It's clear? Equivalent circuit we have drawn. This is per phase equivalent circuit what we are drawing over here. Understanding my point? You may as well have the RYB per phase equivalent circuit also, where these back EMF term will be something like sine epsilon minus 120, sine epsilon plus 120, something like that. Instead of sine epsilon and cos epsilon. These are alpha beta, that's why it is looking like this. Clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
Yes, sir.
because we are having this aim in mind to control these quantities Is alpha, Is beta through some kind of feedback control, which we have learned for the DC motor. Feedback control, or you can say using our traditional controllers P, PI or PID. So what general understanding is that these controllers are basically more suitable for DC quantities. If you try to have AC quantity, control of AC quantity through these controllers, the performance may be very poor. So steady state error and all lot of things would come over there. So what we try to do, because we are planning to use these controllers, and these are the generic linear control components which we use for the feedback based control. So we try to visualize our system as set of DC quantities. This is our aim now. Understanding my point? We have modeled our machine very perfectly in the stationary reference frame, but this is not enough. This is the first step only. We have understood our machine mathematically, but what we want, in order to have the feedback control through these traditional controllers P, PI, PID, we want to have these quantities as DC quantities instead of AC quantities. All these are AC quantities. Is there any doubt in that? V alpha, V beta, I alpha, I beta. Is there any doubt in that? Anybody having any doubt? No, right? Anybody having confusion? So what we do, basically, we have to, now everything is defined in this reference frame, alpha S, beta S. We need not look for what is there in alpha or beta. We have crossed that. Now this is our vector, Is, let us say, which is rotating at synchronous speed in the counterclockwise direction. So obviously, when let us say we talk about our train analogy only, someone sitting in the train and we want to tell his position, we know the velocity and all everything. So that will be changing with respect to a person standing on the ground. This position or this velocity will be changing. But if we also go and sit on the train, then with respect to us, the person would be stationary, although the train would be moving. So this simple analogy is taken to define another reference frame which is also rotating at the synchronous speed, so that the quantity which we are seeing looks stationary to us. So let us say I define a reference frame something like this, which is rotating at the same synchronous speed, let's say omega s, and I call it dq for some reason that we will discuss later. So what is happening? Now this reference frame is also moving with the same speed, same synchronous speed, and this quantity is also rotating with the same synchronous speed, which means what? The projections created by this quantity on this reference frame or the axis of this reference frame would be a fixed quantity. This will not be changing. Any doubt is that? Any doubt in that?
No, sir.
Clear?
Yes,
So this is what we call as our synchronously revolving reference frame. What is the advantage? Now we are seeing, and it is only mathematical. Physically, we have not changed anything. It's only mathematically we are trying to understand what is there. So mathematically, we are defining now this quantity into another reference frame, which is also moving at the same synchronous speed. So what we are finding the components, let me call D component and Q component as DC quantities, which is the first requirement for our control. Am I clear? Now, this reference frame, let us say, is making angle rho. So, this d rho by dt is what? Our synchronous speed. Understanding my point? Fine. This reference frame you have understood. We have simply gone and sat into another reference frame which is rotating at synchronous speed. Why? Because we want to see our quantities as DC quantity so that we can control it easily using our traditional controllers and feedback based control. So now what our job will be, whatever equation we have defined in the stationary reference frame, this equation, this we will have to write into the synchronous reference frame. That will be the simple job. So we have understood how do we do the axis transformation or reference frame transformation. So simply if I have to write now my quantity which is referred in alpha beta reference frame, I will write like this, and whichever is referred in DQ reference frame, I will write like this for clarity. Vector is same, but in which reference frame it is referred, that we are seeing. So if I have to write IS DQ in terms of IS alpha beta, so what this will be? What I need to multiply here?
E की power
so e to the power minus j delta.
Minus j
Delta.
rho. It's not delta. Correct. Similar to how we were transforming to rotor reference frame, we were simply multiplying that angle, what it is forming with that native reference frame. Simple. Understood my point? You can expand, you can go and compute what are the projections, how it is coming, all that you can do. There is no problem. You will ultimately come down to this. What thumb rule we have found. From the native reference frame to the new reference frame, what is the angle in the counterclockwise direction? That's all. So this is how we can transform every quantity in our new reference frame. So for example, if we have to write our current in new reference frame dq, we can write like this. If we have to write our voltage in new reference frame, we can write like this. If we wish to come back to our native reference frame, what we do? We do the reverse. Clear? Any confusion in this?
No, sir.
Any doubt up to this? Okay, so today I stop up to this, and in the next class, please try to revise some